Welcome into a special edition of Beyond the Arc right here on High School Cube News. Brian Chimino with you once again with Michael O'Brien of the Sun-Times, and we're talking about the Chicago Public League Tournament 2014 quarterfinals tipping off this Sunday live from Chicago State. So, Mike, let's get into the first matchup. We're talking about Uplift back in the rankings at number 24, and they're facing number 7 Orr, who really struggled in the second round.
Yeah, Orr, they're just one of those teams, more so than any team I maybe have ever covered with their kind of talent. You just don't know what you're going to get day to day. Motivation seems to be a big thing with them, and that's going to be a problem because I can't see them getting real excited about playing Uplift. You know, they don't have a superstar player. They're not, you know, a traditional power. So this one has got upset written all over it. Uplift, it's their Super Bowl. It's the biggest game in school history. They're going to be really excited about it. So this is kind of one to watch, and Orr better show up for it or there's going to be an upset.
All these quarterfinal matchups are really intriguing, and number 2 is no different, as you have number 2 Whitney Young taking on number 11 Morgan Park, who kind of seems to just be laying in the weeds right now.
Wow. Nick Irvin and Tyrone Slaughter, the coaches of each team, there's no secret that they're not the best of buddies. This is definitely going to be a war. This is going to be a fun one. You have to like Whitney Young. They've got Jalil Okafor. He did some really mean things to Vocational on Sunday. He seemed to be playing with kind of a new level of focus. There was no messing around. He was taking prisoners. So I really like Young in this game. Morgan Park still turns the ball over too much, and that's going to be a problem. The way Miles Reynolds is shooting, Young, to me, looks like they're on the road into the title game.
Quarterfinal number 3 is very intriguing. You have this Cinderella team of this tournament. We're talking about the Farragut Admirals, who we didn't even think might be in the tournament this time last week, that they upset Bogan in round 2. They'll go for their second straight upset as they face Hyde Park.
Farragut, it's kind of like the wild card in Major League Baseball. They had to play to just get in to this thing. They were fighting for their program's survival, literally, against Westinghouse. If they would have lost their last regular season game to Westinghouse, they would have fallen to the white, and Farragut may have ended as a power. They brought in all these luminaries to talk. Sonny Parker came in to talk before the game, to talk about how important Farragut history was and 50 years in the red. They stormed past Westinghouse, then they went out and stormed through the tournament to get here. I really like Farragut in this game. You know, Ashawn Jones is a really, really great player. He's not a qualifier, so you don't hear a lot about him, but he's the best player on the court, and more often than not, that team wins. So I'll take Farragut in this one.
This one is a dandy, the nightcap. It's a rematch of the Pontiac Championship game. We're talking about number 1 Curie versus number 9 Simeon.
Yeah, this is interesting because Simeon has beaten the second time they've played every team they've lost to this year. It's happened with Morgan Park, happened with Bogan. They haven't played St. Benedict's against. That doesn't count. And very much like Orr, Simeon is all about motivation. They need to get motivated. For some reason, Coach Robert Smith is having a little difficult time getting this team to play up to their abilities. They'll be all here for Curie and Cliff Alexander, so this is going to be a tough one. I don't think anybody can really pick it. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen. I mean, you got to like Simeon's motivation, but how do you pick against Cliff Alexander at this point?
So it lines up for intriguing semifinals, but Mike, let's look in the crystal ball all the way to the title game. People have been hyping this up since November, maybe even last summer. We're talking about the possibility of a Young Curie matchup, specifically Okafor versus Cliff Alexander. What are your feelings on that happening?
It would be a lot of fun. Everybody thinks that if it does happen, that Chicago State will sell out. The whole big place will be totally sold out to watch really the 2 best big men in 20, 30 years in Chicago match up in a city championship game. It would be a pretty magical night, that's for sure. Oddly, it might come down to the shooters in that game, though. Miles Reynolds for Young and Joe and Josh Stamps for Curie. You're going to want a hot outside hand when you've got the 2 big men maybe sort of negating one another in that game.
So we're going to put our reputation on the line and predict a winner of this Chicago Public League Tournament. I'll start first. I'm going with the Curie Condors. They're number 1 in the area. I've loved them ever since Thanksgiving. I saw them at Pontiac. They're more than Cliff Alexander. I love the Stamps brothers. Devin Gage, I think, is due to break out for that squad, and what a better time right now. I'm taking Curie.
I'm going to go with Whitney Young in that one. To me, Paul White is the difference. You know, I don't think Curie has anybody to match up with him. If he has a big night, if he's healthy, you know, he sat out the second round game after taking a hard fall in the first round against North Lawndale, so that's something to watch. But if Young has their full team, to me, they're the most tested team in the state. They've played the best schedule in the whole country, so I'm going to go with Whitney Young.
And so it's a really, really good tournament this year, the 2014 Public League Tournament. Quarterfinals Sunday, semifinals Wednesday, and next Friday, the title game, all taking place live from Chicago State. That'll do it for this special edition of Beyond the Arc here on High School Cube News. For Michael O'Brien, I'm Brian Chimino, and we'll see you next week.